If I'm to throw out Senator Cherangay, you may have to follow behind. So, honorable senators, allow me to propose the question that whereas pursuant to Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act, on Wednesday, 25th October 2023, the Meru County Assembly approved a motion to remove from office by impeachment Honorable Kawira Mwangaza, the Governor of Meru County. And further, whereas by a letter reference M/Cares Volume 4/43, dated 26th October 2023, and received in the office of the Speaker of the Senate on Friday, 27th of October 2023, the Speaker of the Meru County Assembly informed the Speaker of the Senate of the approval of the motion by County Assembly, and further forwarded to the Speaker of the Senate documents in evidence of the proceedings of the Assembly. And whereas pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Government Act and Standing Order 81(b) of the Senate by resolution may appoint a special committee comprising 11 of its members to investigate the matter. Now therefore, pursuant to Section 33(3)(b) of the County Governments Act and Standing Order 81(b), the Senate resolves to establish a special committee comprising the following senators: Senator Dr. Boni Kalwale, Senator Jackson Mandago, Senator Karungo Thangwa, Senator Esther Okenyuri, Senator Ali Roba, Senator Peris Tobiko, Senator Enoch Wambua, Senator Abdul Haji, Senator Okoit Omtata, Senator Crystal Asige, and Senator Shakila Abdallah to investigate the proposed removal from office of the Governor of Meru County, and pursuant to Standing Order 82 to report to the Senate within 10 days of its appointment on whether or not it finds the particulars of the allegations against the Governor to have been substantiated. Now, honorable senators, we will proceed to call any interested senator to make their contribution on this motion. What is the point of order, Majority Leader?
Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order number 111.1 on limitation of debate. This is a simple procedure which we need to agree whether to proceed by way of committee or by way of plenary. Mr. Speaker, I propose that within 3 minutes you will have convinced the House to either agree or disagree with you. Therefore, if that finds favor with my colleagues, we can limit that so that as many colleagues as possible can speak on this matter. Mr. Speaker, I invite Senator Karen Nyamu to second.
Mr. Speaker, I second.
Now, honorable senators, we need not really debate the motion. We can strike a consensus that we each speak for 3 minutes. If that is the consensus, can we therefore proceed in that manner? Yes. 3 minutes it is. Senator Murango James Kamau.
Asante sana mstahiki Speaker kwa kunipa nafasi. Ya kwanza nimesimama hapa kimasomaso mchana peupe kupinga mswanda ulioletwa na kiranja walio wachache katika bunge hili. Kwanza mstahiki Speaker, nadhani sisi sio kama jongoo, kwa hivyo tuna vichwa vyetu tunafaa kufikiria. Niseme ya kwamba kawaida ambayo imekuwa sasa nikawaandika katika bunge hili la Seneti ni kwamba wakati mswanda umeletwa sana sana ambao unafaa kuungwa mkono na pande zote mbili, anayeleta ule mswanda anakuwa kiongozi wa wengi, na sana sana naona akiita kiongozi walio wachache kuunga mkono ule mswanda. Mstahiki Speaker, mswanda wa leo umeletwa na kiranja walio wachache na kuungwa mkono na aliyetoka upande wa wachache. Hiyo ni kusema kuna azimio fiche katika tendo hili. Kwa hivyo mstahiki Speaker, mimi nimesimama hapa niseme ya kwamba sisi wengi ambao ni vijana katika bunge hili la Seneti pia tunafaa kupewa nafasi ya kusikiza, kunusa, kuoja na kusoma katika mswanda ambao unaletwa katika bunge hili. Mstahiki Speaker, Mstahiki Speaker, niseme ya kwamba ukiangalia katika orodha ya wale watu wamewekwa pale, katika upande walio wengi ni wale watu ambao walikuweko wakati ule ambao gavana wa Meru aliletwa katika Jubaila Senate. Na kwa hivyo tunataka kusema ya kwamba hiyo inanyima nafasi maseneta wengi vijana kutoka pande hii walio wengi, na kwa hivyo ningeunga mkono kwamba tuletewe mswada kwa walio wengi. Mstahiki Speaker, sitaki kukumbaliana kwa kusema ya kwamba wakati gavana atakuja katika mbunge hili hataweza kusikizwa kwa njia inayofaa. Ukienda katika mbunge la Wandi la Gatuzi la Meru, wote wakilishi wadi 29 walisikiza na wakapitisha, 59 walisikiza na wakapitisha. Hiyo ni kusema sisi hatujafika hata hiyo, hatujafika 69, Mheshimiwa Speaker. Kwa hivyo mimi ningeomba ya kwamba upande walio wengi tusifuate mkondo kama samaki aliyekufa, tuweze kufikiria, tuletewe mswada katika bunge la Seneti, sisi wote tuweze kusikiza, kuchangia na kufanya maamuzi mbele ya kila mtu akiona Kenya nzima ikitazama. Asante sana Mstahiki Speaker. Napinga.
Senator Asotsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to also raise my voice on this matter. Mr. Speaker, this is not the first time this House is debating this particular motion. You remember we had a similar motion on the matter involving the impeachment of the Meru governor. We had a similar motion on the matter involving the deputy governor of Siaya. And this House, nearly 90% of the members supported the idea of the committee. And everyone who stood up gave very good and valid reason why we need to go the committee way. Sitting here and listening to the senator for Kirinyaga, I wonder what has changed, Mr. Speaker. Because we all said, and the answer is there, is the evidence, that we all said that for us to do a neat job, we will need to go the committee way and not the plenary way. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to support the mover, Senator Olekina, that I plead with you members, let us go the committee way so that we can do a clean job, so that we can give the people of Meru the justice they're looking for. And at the same time, Mr. Speaker, we need to continue with this, the image that we have acquired as a Senate, that we are a responsible House that looks at issues critically before making a decision. Mr. Speaker, we don't want to have a situation where we'll come here, convert this House into a lynching house without looking at the issues very critically. Mr. Speaker, I've listened to your communication, Mr. Speaker. The last paragraph, Mr. Speaker, you have clearly stated that the principles and ideals of the Constitution must be adhered to in this impeachment process. Mr. Speaker, I fear that when we go the plenary way, we may not adhere to the principles of the Constitution, particularly on the issue of fair administrative action, because the governor would require all the rights that that are provided for in the Constitution, so that she can.
Senator Aaron Cheriot.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I have three quick things to say, but let me be clear from the onset that first, I rise to oppose this motion. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose for three simple reasons. Number one, as a leader in this House, I must learn to keep and honor my word. When I moved the motion in December last year to set up the committee, I was quite clear and still hold the same position this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, that there is no method that is better than the other. Anybody trying to peddle that kind of argument, in my opinion, Mr. Speaker, is misleading the House. I say that as a ranking member. I have participated in both plenary and committee impeachment hearings, and I can tell you without a doubt, Mr. Speaker, that both processes are fair, they are sound, they have a good legal basis, and they deliver the best result for the specific county that is before the House. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, when I moved that afternoon, I promise the House that at the next time we get such an opportunity, it will be my proposal that we go the plenary way. And therefore, this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, I want to propose that the House goes the plenary way so that we listen, all of us, sit here calmly and understand what is the issue with Meru. Second thing, Mr. Speaker, is that we need a cleanup of our laws. Perhaps members are wondering, how is it that we found ourselves in this situation? We found ourselves in this situation where this motion is being moved because, unfortunately, under our own standing orders, standing order number 80 and section 33 of the County Governments Act, Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, there is no procedure of directly going to committee. You must first, going to plenary, you must first reject a committee and then you find yourself in the plenary way. It is my proposal and submission before this House, Mr. Speaker, that at the end of this process, we must move a cleanup of our standing orders and that law so that we can provide it in a fair and a cleaner way so that the House makes a decision. Just like, finally, Mr. Speaker, the decision of the committee, unfortunately, if they choose to absolve the governors of the blame, that is the end of that particular process. That is something that we must review, Mr. Speaker, eventually when you are done with this process, so that the House can have a footing and a final say on such matters from start to finish, so that eventually all the 47 delegations of this House gather and make a decision. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to plead with our colleagues, even if you're pursuing a particular interest, don't be unfair on the House. Don't cast aspersions to the House and believe that for whatever reason, members will suddenly not reason that the only way you can concentrate is if you're reduced from being 67 to only 11 of you. I don't think that is fair to the House. The same way I will sit at a
Senator Haji mwenye faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa ya kuchangia mswada huu. Mheshimiwa Spika, kubanduliwa mamlakani kwa gavana kwa kupitia njia ya impeachment ni jambo muhimu sana na jambo ambalo linatoa matatizo makubwa kwa yule ambaye anabanduliwa, kwa sababu ukibanduliwa mamlakani ina maana kwamba huwezi kukaa katika ofisi ya umma kwa kazi yoyote ile ambayo utakuwa una nia ya kuifanya. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ni lazima tumpe yule mhusika nafasi nzuri ya kuweza kujitetea kutokana na mashtaka ambayo yanamkabili. Mheshimiwa Spika, njia ya kamati ni njia mwafaka kabisa ambayo inampa mhusika nafasi nzuri ya kuweza kujitetea na kusikiza yale mashtaka ambayo yataletwa mbele yake. Mheshimiwa Spika, japokuwa seneti nzima, yani kupitia kwa hadhara, yani plenary, ina nafasi sawa na kamati, Mheshimiwa Spika, lakini tumeona katika historia ya impeachment ya Mheshimiwa Sonko, Mheshimiwa Waititu, hawakupata fursa nzuri ya kujieleza kwa sababu kazi yenyewe ni nyingi na inatakana ifanyike kwa muda wa siku 2. Mheshimiwa Spika, wiki iliyokwisha hapa tulikuja mawaziri wawili walirudi bila kupatikana kwa kuwa tulikuwa hatuna quorum katika bunge hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukikaa hapa siku ambayo itakayotakana kukaa, na tunajua mara nyingi asubuhi wa maseneta huchelewa kufika katika bunge hili. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, itakuwa ni aibu kwamba nafasi ya kusikiza kesi inaendelea, wale ambao wataamua kesi hawako mahakamani, lakini kesi inaendelea kusikizwa bila wale watakaoamua kuwako mahakama hili. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi naona njia mwafaka ni kuwa na kamati, na kamati ile ni maseneta wote, wale ambao watachaguliwa ni maseneta kama maseneta wengine. Mheshimiwa Spika, hii Kawira ya kuweza kubandikia kamati maswala ambayo hayakuweza, kwa mfano tuhuma za kupokea hongo ama tuhuma za kufanya kazi bila ya kuwa sawa sawa, Mheshimiwa Spika, haifai. Kwa sababu seneta yote ambaye anahudumu katika kamati ni seneta kama seneta mwingine, Mheshimiwa Spika. Na kamati zote zinapokaa ni kamati za bunge la Senate. Kwa hivyo kadhia zote ambazo ni za kuhakikisha kwamba kuna haki na usawa zinafanyika. Mheshimiwa Spika, ningependa kusema kwamba nafasi ya kamati itakuwa ni ndio njia bora kabisa ya kuweza kusikiza madai ambayo yamependekezwa na bunge la kaunti ya Meru, na hiyo itawapa fursa watu wote wabunge wa bunge la kaunti ya Meru na Governor Kawira Mwangaza watapewa nafasi sawa ya kuweza kusikiza kesi ile na kutoa uamuzi ambao utasaidia kuleta haki na usawa. Mheshimiwa Spika, hatuwezi kuwa kama bunge hapa.
Senator Mundigi.
Bwana Spika, mimi nakataa kuundwa kwa maseneta 11 ya kuchunguza mambo ya Senator Kawira, mambo ya Meru, kwa gavana wa Meru, kwa sababu nakumbuka wakati ule mwingine tulikuwa hapa na tukachagua seneta 11, na wakati walikuwa naangalia hiyo tukawa tumemrudisha na pia tukampatia onyo kali sana. Vile nataka kusema wale MCA 59.
Senator Mundigi, hoja nidhamu yako ni gani, Senator Faki?
Seneta wa Embu amesema zungusa. Sasa sijui ni kuzungumza ama ni kuzungusha.
That point of order is overruled. Just proceed, Senator Mundigi.
Senator wa Mombasa, masikio yako haisikii vizuri. Mimi umekula miraa na dawa ya kulevya. Sasa nyamaza. Tuweze kuzungumza kusaidia watu wa Meru. MCA 59 walikubaliana mambo ya kutimua gavana kwa sababu ya kushindwa na kazi yake. Aidha gavana ni mama ama ni mwanaume, mpaka tuangalie vile.
Senator Mundigi, kadri unavyochangia katika hoja hii, tafadhali na kusihi utie manani ile tahadhari ambayo nimepeana kabla hatujaanza mdahalo huu. Hatuzungumzi ukweli, uzito, usawa ama uchache wa ile kesi. Tunazungumzia mjadala ambao uko mbele yetu kwa sasa ni aidha kama Senate tuchague kamati ndio ifanye uchunguzi ama Senate mzima ifanye uchunguzi. Kwa hivyo tafadhali usiende nje ya mada hiyo.
Naomba msamaha, ni uchungu ambaye nilio nayo kwa watu wa Meru, kwa sababu Bwana Spika, unakumbuka Embu tumeteseka kwa kipindi ya miaka 10, na kama watu wa Meru wanasikia vile tulikuwa sikia, wanaona kwa sababu alikuwa jirani. Mimi naunga mkono tuwe maseneta 67, tuangalie vile itawezekana, kwa sababu tunajua wakati county 47 ni mambo ya kuangalia vile kuko. Kwa hivyo naunga mkono na kataa mambo ya hawa, tuweze kuwa sisi wote tuangalie itakuanji, kwa sababu kama watu wataka kulipisha sioni ni vizuri, kwa sababu wakati mambo mengine yanafanyika hapa ni kwa sababu tulirudisha deputy ambaye ni wa Kisumu. Sasa leo hatuwezi kumbali yote mnasema mpaka tuende Senator 67.
What is the point of order, Senator Kenya?
Bwana Spika, nilimsikiza Mheshimiwa Mundigi akisema kuzingizia kwamba senator kutoka Mombasa anaweza kuwa anatumia madawa ya kulevya. Hakumsikiza Bwana Spika. Ningependa ya kwamba alisema namna hiyo Bwana Spika. Alisema
Senator Mundigi, just sit down.
Bwana Spika, nuku zetu Bwana Spika.
Order senators.
Alisema Bwana Spika, nuku zetu ningependa ziondolewe kwa sababu Senator Faki ni senator wa nyumba hii, na kusema ya kwamba anaweza kutumia madawa ya kulevya si vizuri Bwana Spika.
Senator Mundigi, Ikiwa ni kweli ulizungumza matamshi hayo kwamba seneta wa Mombasa, Seneta Faki, anatumia madawa ya kulevya, itabidi usimame utoe katika nakala maneno hayo na tena uombe msamaha ndo uendelee kumaliza.
Naomba msamaha kwa rafiki wangu Seneta Mombasa. Labda Seneta akusikie vizuri, sikusema mambo kama hayo, kwa hivyo kama nimeongea nimeomba msamaha.
Senator Eddie Okech.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this proposal actually by the minority whip. And I only have two things to say today, Mr. Speaker. The first thing is that, Mr. Speaker, anytime this kind of business come to this house, it is an opportunity for us as a house to rise above the politics of the day and give this house the status that it deserves. In a way between the two ways. But I think that there was wisdom as to why they were actually put that you can either consider two options. And for me, it is circumstantial. It's circumstantial to the extent that, Mr. Speaker, the first thing that we must consider is the sanctity of this house. And why I'm saying sanctity is that we don't want to take a process that can leave us to litigation in whichever way possible. And, Mr. Speaker, we have had a house that we have these. Mr. Speaker, you must control Chair Gay. He keeps on making a lot of
Senator Eddie, would you wish to be informed by Senator Fernandi?
Chair Gay is the most uninformed person in this house.
Would you wish to be informed? No. It's either
I wouldn't wish to be informed by Senator Chair Gay. So, Mr. Speaker, I want us to be cautious that we do not put ourselves in a situation whereby we are going to have litigations after this particular process. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the weight of this matter is exemplified by the fact that this particular county is bringing this issue for the second time in this house. I think that if that be so, then it behooves this house to make sure that there is absolute examination of every single issue raised in this particular impeachment. And, Mr. Speaker, we can't ignore the fact that if we do not take our time to examine as thorough as a committee will do, then we will do a disservice to the people of Meru. I agree with the majority that both ways work, but the examination and justice that is needed will happen best when people are committed to examining those issues that have been raised. With that, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Nyutu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand to oppose the motion to constitute a committee to hear the matter before the House regarding the removal of the governor of Meru County. And for these reasons, Mr. Speaker. One, Mr. Speaker, this is the second time this governor is being brought for impeachment to this House. Mr. Speaker, the first time the governor was brought here, we appointed a committee. Mr. Speaker, they say only a fool does something the same way and expect different results. And Mr. Speaker, because for the first time we followed the committee way and this is the same governor, I think, Mr. Speaker, it would only be fair that this time round we try a plenary, Mr. Speaker. Number two, still on the same, Mr. Speaker, this is the second impeachment happening in the same within 1 year, Mr. Speaker, and I pray that you may...
What is the point of order, Senator Eddie?
Please freeze my time.
Mr. Speaker, I have standing order number 105 on imputing improper motive, Mr. Speaker. The Senator of Murang'a has just said that when this matter first appeared before us in this House, we tried a committee, and therefore it's a justification enough for us to go the plenary way. Is he imputing that the committee that did the work in the previous matter did not do the right job? Is that what he's implying? And even use the word like stupid in terms of the processes, Mr. Speaker, and fools, Mr. Speaker. Is he suggesting that the committee that was anointed by this House and given that task to do that time was not proper? And does he want a different outcome because that committee did not do a right job?
Senator Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wouldn't have wanted to spend most of my time responding to standing orders. But, Mr. Speaker, I did not say, and I think it's very important for members to listen keenly. I said, they say, they are adages, Senator, through the Speaker, only a fool does the same thing every time and expect different results. That is not me that said that, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to respond. But, Mr. Speaker, I know he wants to distract me. So, Mr. Speaker, kindly allow me to proceed with my contribution.
Order, Senators. Order, Senators. Order, Senators. Can you conclude your contribution?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I was just about to say before the rude interruption from the Senator from Migori that, Mr. Speaker, the fact is that this governor is being impeached for the second time. The County Assembly of Meru is like doing an appeal, Mr. Speaker. And, Mr. Speaker, I have a right to be heard, Senator, and then they will raise their points, Mr. Speaker. So, take your seat, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Newton, take your seat and freeze his time, please. What's your point of order, Senator Sifuna?
Mr. Speaker, I believe that this would fall under the ambit of anticipating debate, because what our colleague, the Senator, is saying is that there is a desired result. And that in fact, if you go the same way, you will get the same result as last time, and that result was not desirable. What we are saying to him, what we are saying, Mr. Speaker, in accordance with your guidance, nobody should anticipate what result would arise from what process. That is what you guided us to do. So he should refrain in his debate from suggesting that somehow, and by the way, Mr. Speaker, there is no such thing as a second impeachment acting as an appeal. No. I believe, I have not read the facts and the allegations, that they are based on new facts and new allegations, and that they are being treated as a new case to be examined objectively on the basis of the facts and the evidence. So he is out of order, Mr. Speaker, and I would wish that you would rule on that particular objection.
Senator Newton, the motion before us is a motion to have a special committee investigate this matter. From the onset, if I heard you correctly, you're opposed to it and you favor the plenary. Convince your colleagues why the plenary is the best way to go without necessarily going the route that Senator for Nairobi has just cautioned.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your guidance. I was just about to say, but you have advised me to avoid going that route. But I was just going to say that the second reason that I oppose this particular motion is because we have from our side the same members that had this, that did the first impeachment proceedings in this House, Mr. Speaker. And so that was my second reason. Mr. Speaker, I have listened to my colleagues saying that the committee way will be able to investigate the matter in a better way than the plenary way, Mr. Speaker. And my submission is that, Mr. Speaker, from what I know, two heads are better than one. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm not convinced that when members are fewer, they'll be able to do a job.
Senator Dulo.
Why are you laughing? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose this motion. Mr. Speaker, I believe we have moved, or rather we had 2 impeachment since inception of this particular house. And I think in the last 2 impeachment, we have gone committee way. So it's important also for the members who are new to really understand how the process of plenary goes. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, it is only fair for the members of public also to understand how impeachment is carried in the Senate in a plenary. Because when we go committee way, it's the committee to sit, deliberate, and it is brought to the House whether the charges are sustained or otherwise. Mr. Speaker, I think according to me the best way to go for the purpose of transparency in the public glaring, that plenary is the best way to go so that members of public can follow the debate and see where the problems are. Personally, I support plenary, and that will be fair to the county assembly, to the people of Meru, to the person who is impeached. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I think according to me, and I believe having sat in plenary and also committee in the last 2 Senates, the best way to go is plenary. I oppose the motion. I thank you.
Senator Wafula.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kunipa wakati huu kuchangia. Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati gavana huyu alikuwa hapa kujitetea alipoletwa hapa na kaunti yake husika, gavana huyu aliponea chupu na utetezi wake ulifanywa katika kikao ambacho hatukuwepo, lakini kwa sababu ya uamuzi wa jumla, uamuzi wa seneti kwamba waliokubaliana nayo pia si tukubali, tukakubali shingo upande. Mheshimiwa Spika, watu wa kaunti hii wana mambo ambayo wangependa kusikia yakitajwa, yakijadiliwa, yakizungumziwa peupe mchana. Watu wa kaunti hii wanataka kujua rafiki yao ni nani, asiyekuwa rafiki yao ni nani. Watu wa kaunti hii wanataka kujua seneti inajua yanayoendelea katika kaunti yao ama hapana. Watu wa kaunti hii wanajua kwamba katika majadiliano ya watu wachache kuna mazungumzo ya chini kwa chini ambayo hao hawahusiki. Leo wana nafasi kusikia wazi wale wanaoitwa madaktari, wanaoitwa maprofesa, wale ambao ni walimu, wadhihirishe uwezo wao wazi mchana kadamnasi ya umma. Ni wapi ama ni shinikizo zipi zinahakikisha kwamba wanapata haki ama wanapata nafasi ya kujieleza, kwa sababu Senate ni jumba la kutetea ugatuzi. Iwapo viongozi kama MCAs wamekata kauli kwamba lazima Pilato awape nafasi wasulubishe Barnaba ama wasulubishe Yesu, sisi ni nani, Mheshimiwa Spika, tuje hapa tuchukue nafasi yao kana kwamba hawana akili, si watu timamu kuamua hatima yao? Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Fuller, you are out of order to the extent of that particular statement.
Naomba msamaha, naomba kuondoa. Lakini kabla sijakaa, Mheshimiwa Spika, watu kwetu usema fisi aliambia jiwe, japo umenyamaza lakini umesikia. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Asige.
Thank you very much, Speaker. First of all, I'm not too sure why Senator Kajwang would have wanted to block me from supporting my whip. However, he is very well aware that I am a musician, an award-winning musician at that, and my voice will be heard one way or the other. Mr. Speaker, please do. I will sing, but I will sing on Friday 3rd at Orchid Lounge for all of us. So please come. That's where you'll find me singing this week. Mr. Speaker, I support this motion. And I've heard arguments about promises that have been made in the first impeachment motion, and now they want to be fulfilled here. But, Mr. Speaker, I will remind the House, and this is not the second motion, this is the third. If a promise was supposed to have been fulfilled, it should have been done so in the impeachment of the DG of Siaya. That has now come and gone, so for me that does not hold. Second, it's also been argued that the same members from the majority side are being recycled in this committee. However, Mr. Speaker, to me, that sounds like an internal wrangle, an internal communication and conversation that should have been had with senators from the majority side, with their leader, and not something that should be brought to this House as part of the debate, because Mr. Speaker, Meru does not want to know who is being recycled or not. Meru does not want, the governor does not want to know, and neither do we, Mr. Speaker. I think that is something that should have been lobbied and persuaded internally for the majority side. Mr. Speaker, I also believe that committee is the correct way to go, because interrogations will be had, and and the evidence, thank you, will be combed through in a much more succinct way than if we are sitting here throwing mud at each other, slinging at each other in terms of our debates, and then of course wasting the precious time of this honorable House. Mr. Speaker, I just want to reiterate the importance of giving somebody, in this case, the governor of Meru, a fair hearing, and that will be done if, in my opinion, 11 people sit down, put their heads down and focus on the evidence and interrogate this matter to its conclusion. And thereafter, the House will have an opportunity to vote either for or against whatever the committee decides. Mr. Speaker, I want to again reiterate that I support the motion, and I thank Senator Kajwang for giving me, even though not in the first instance, this instance to do so.
Senator Mutenda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I rise as a delegation of Meru to completely oppose this motion. One, Mr. Speaker, I want to state that as a new member in this House, it gives us an experience on matters plenary, because as Emel had promised last time, this was the way to go, so that even as a House, we can have the plenary experience. Further to that, Mr. Speaker, I have noticed that even in this motion contribution, I am the third female senator to contribute in this motion. This being a female governor, we want plenary because we want an opportunity to be able to have a feel as women senators, to be able to understand, is it leadership issues, is it other issues in this county. That is why we want plenary, so that all the voices of all the women in this House can be heard, so that we can be able to make the right decision for the great people of Meru County. You look at the list for the committee, the 11 committee members that have been put. I've had, if my mind serves me correctly, I think I've had only 3 female senators. We want a bigger voice as women, so that our voices are completely heard on the contribution that we are going to make. When the people elected the honorable governor, it was not about not knowing that she was a female. We want as female to be respected. So we want our voices to be fully heard. They can only be heard completely through plenary in this House. So I continue rising and supporting that we go the plenary way, so that completely we execute the issues of Meru extensively, massively, for the benefit of the people of Meru. The governor has been impeached again. Again, it saddens me, because we were in the first line with Senator Gloria supporting and being happy that the governor has survived. Now again, it has come back. As on this particular platform, we try the plenary way, so that we get now to understand the real issues. Also as leaders, as female, to understand the deeper issues. The only answer is on plenary. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kavindu.
Asante Bwana Spika kwa kunipa hii fursa niweze kusupport hii motion ya kwamba hii impeachment ipelekwe kwa committee. Na Bwana Spika, nimesikia wengi wakisema ya kwamba hii impeachment motion ikipelekwa kwa committee haitapata haki. Hii inamaanisha kwamba zile petitions zote na statements na motions zinaletwa hapa na zinapelekwa kwa committee hazipati haki. Hazipati haki kabisa. Zinapata haki, ninaamini zinapata haki, na kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, nina support hii motion ipelekwe kwa committee ili watu wa Meru waweze kupata haki yao, na pia Governor Kawira aweze kupata haki yake na wawe na wakati wa kuwasikiliza vizuri. Bwana Spika, nimekaa kwa committee ya impeachment mara mbili. Hii ya Kawira imekwisha na ingine ilikuwa ya Western, ilikuwa ya Northeastern. Bwana Spika, pale kuna wakati mwema sana wa watu kusikilizwa. Kama ni governor asikilizwe, kama ni malalamishi ya MCAs na watu wa Meru pia wasikilizwe vizuri kwa makini. Na kwenda kwa committee haimaanishi ya kwamba watu wa media hawezi kuja pale, watu wa Meru wakaweza kufuata kabisa kile kinatendeka kwa committee. Mimi niko kwa committee ile ya Bomb Blast 1998 na kila wakati mnaona kwa media, kwa maana tunaita watu wa media pale kuja, itakuwa wazi hata kwa committee. Nina support iende kwa committee. Asante Bwana Speaker.
Senator Wamatenga.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise from the onset to oppose. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am quite perturbed by the mathematics that have been done in this House. I thought, Mr. Speaker, sir, that a bigger number will give us a wider base of knowledge. Mr. Speaker, sir, 11 members cannot and will never possess the knowledge that the 67 members in this House must have. As has been mentioned by my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, I do not want to repeat that this is the second time that the governor will be coming here, and therefore it is very important that the whole nation, indeed, and specifically women in this country, get to follow the issues so that it will never be blamed on the Senate that it was a gendered issue. Mr. Speaker, sir, the only opportunity that we have is to open up for everybody, for all the 67, including our colleagues, the women, so that it will be said that the Senate did justice to the people of Kenya, to the people of Meru, and most importantly, to our daughters who are also aspiring in the future to become leaders. Mr. Speaker, sir, when I hear the names of the 11 members, I must admit that we do not have two sets of brains, that one you leave when you're going to the committee and the other one that you take when you're going to the plenary. Mr. Speaker, we use the same brains, whether we are 11 here in the House or we are the whole House. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is important. This is an emotive issue and we must consider the weight it carries by going the plenary way so that the whole Republic of Kenya will know that indeed this senior House, this superior House has the composition to deliver justice not only to Kenyans but of course to the future generations. And I want also to be very future-centric. We need to give the confidence of all our daughters who aspire to become leaders that indeed the House of Senate can deliver justice by opening this so that it will be discussed in clear daylight for everybody to take home. Mr. Speaker, I oppose.
Senator Mwaruma.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to support the motion by Senator Lamolekina. Firstly, I would like to say, Mr. Speaker, that both ways, plenary way and committee way, are provided for in the standing orders. However, Mr. Speaker, one of them is better than another in terms of how we approach the proceedings. Mr. Speaker, when we go the committee way, we have an opportunity to have an in-depth understanding of the cases because we interrogate the documents better when we are fewer, Mr. Speaker. We had opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to go through the same petition of Kawira Mwangaza, Honorable, when we were led by Senator Boni Khalwale, Dr. Boni Khalwale. And I think the work that was done in that committee was a sterling job. We looked at the documents very soberly, and we came up with a finding that the allegations were not substantiated. When you went the committee way in the case of Deputy Governor for Siaya, again the committee that was there looked at the documents, and there were some allegations that were substantiated. But again, there was opportunity when you came to plenary again to overturn the findings of the committee, and Honorable Odol was let off the hook. So, Mr. Speaker, I think both ways are okay because they're allowed in the standing orders, but it's better when you use a committee because then we can interrogate the issues much better to have a close understanding and a better understanding of the issues. Mr. Speaker, when I saw the list from the majority side, I knew we were set. It was a poison chalice because the same members who had participated in the other petition for Kawira Mwangaza were the same people who are put in the committees. So I knew they are set so that they can be disenchanted, so that they can be disenfranchised and vote against the committee way. So I think, Mr. Speaker, I would be waiting for the vote, but most likely if we go the committee way, then you can give the people of Meru the justice that they require, Mr. Speaker. I support, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chute.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me use the word of Senator Maruma. Thank you very much for noticing the issue of the 6 members. And Senator Ledama should have known this. And I think we don't need to waste a lot of time. Mr. Speaker, Article 181 is very clear. It talks about the impeachment of a governor. Standing Order 80B1 talks about special committee. B2 talks about the plenary. Mr. Speaker, 7 governors were impeached since 2013, starting from Governor Wambora, Governor Chepkwony, Waititu, Anne Waiguru, Mike Sonko, Mohammed Abdi from Wajir. This is to notify Senator for Machakos. We don't have a governor, a county called Northeastern. We have a county called Wajir. That is where Mohammed Abdi comes from, who was impeached. And the latest governor to be impeached now is Senator Kawira Mwangaza from Meru. And also, we had an opportunity to have our guest here, Deputy Governor, Dr. William Odwol. William Odwol went through 11-member, Martin Wambora, 11-member committee, Chepkwony, 11-member committee, Anne Waiguru went through 11-member committee, and also Mohammed Abdi went through 11-member committee. And the latest one, the previous Governor Kawira went through 11-member. And Waititu went through plenary, and also Senator Governor Mike Sonko, Sonko's impeachment went through plenary. Mr. Speaker, these methods are all okay, and I don't want to say I will support it or oppose it, but I would want to ask our brothers on the other side, let us not argue on this. Let's go plenary way, because it's an experience for some of us also to learn this process for new members like me and others, and those members who didn't go through this process. I will request kindly, let's follow this process and have plenary way. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, as I rise to comment on this motion, the leadership of this House, and those are the gentlemen and women we have put in the Senate Business Committee, should spare us this agony that we are going through. Mr. Speaker, this debate has not helped to educate anybody. It has only helped to expose the bias amongst the judges sitting in this House. Senators will be sitting as judges, and the bias is clear. Everyone who stands on my side supports, everyone who stands on the other side opposes, and yet we have not even heard the case. We have only read the charges. Mr. Speaker, in future, I want to encourage the SBC, because that is where the numbers are balanced, and we've got our leaders that we trust, and the leaders that we have entrusted with a mandate, to bring us a formula that will not be subjected to debate. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, the leader of majority referred to standing order number 80.
What is the point of order, Senator Ledama?
Mike. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise on standing order number 80, which is the standing order that we are prosecuting. And I would not wish to disrupt my colleague and brother, who I respect quite a lot. But is the distinguished senator from Homa Bay in order to suggest that the House Business Committee can make a decision which is clearly stipulated on how that decision should be made in our standing order? Mr. Speaker, this House, the House Business Committee, deals with the calendar of the House. Matters are resolved. In fact, when you read, Mr. Speaker, you clearly indicated that this is a decision, a resolution of the Senate. The House Business Committee is not the Senate. So, Mr. Speaker, I would like to persuade my brother to look at the standing order and not point especially on the House business, but call upon the entire House to amend the law as well as amend the standing orders, so that a formula can be brought which will not solicit the debate that people will need to decide that people have already made up their mind. So, Mr. Speaker, I'd like you to find my dear brother out of order.
Senator Kajwang, the decision as to whether to go the committee way or the plenary is a decision to be made by the House. The SBC can only facilitate a member wishing to bring a motion on the committee. In this regard, the SBC facilitated the tabling of the motion by the Senator for Narok, but the decision ultimately is supposed to be done by the House.
Mr. Speaker, because it's a matter of interpretation, I do not necessarily have to agree with you, Mr. Speaker, because if you look at standing order number 81B...
Senator Kajwang, the chair has ruled.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will not challenge your ruling.
Please.
But
proceed.
What standing order, and I'm not challenging your ruling. I am proceeding with what I wanted to say.
Proceed.
That the standing orders, the only thing that requires a resolution is a special committee. The plenary is a default mode of operation of this House. If you want a special committee, you bring a resolution. You seek a resolution of the House. Otherwise, by default, this Senate is supposed to process impeachments in plenary. Special committee is an exception that is acquired through a resolution of the House. And I'm not challenging, Mr. Speaker, I'm not challenging the tabling of this motion, because this motion seeks the resolution. Yes. So there's nothing wrong with the motion. But the default position of the Senate is to prosecute in plenary, so that all of us can be present. Mr. Speaker, I want to finalize by saying that let us be extremely careful, so that those people in the county assembly, in Meru, and in the entire nation does not start looking at us through the coalition colors and through the coalition formations. This debate has been fairly poisonous, and it is exposing some bias that might be prejudicial to what we will be dealing with in the next couple of days. Mr. Speaker, I submit.
Thank you. Senator Ledama. Senator Ledama. Order. Order. Senator Chirange. And I need Senator Kajwang. Okay. The mandate of the Senate is to prosecute this matter at the plenary. However, the Senate in its own wisdom can decide to form a committee. Yes. Senator Chirage.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to oppose the motion from the onset on the 3 reasons. 1, Mr. Speaker, the trophy and the defenders of devolution today in the afternoon, Mr. Speaker, sir, goes to the great members of County Assembly of Meru. Mr. Speaker, I hope many MCAs should benchmark with the wonderful work that the MCAs of Meru are doing. They have been very consistent and patient, and I want to laud them for taking the bold step, Mr. Speaker. You know, most of the, unfortunately, governors have made most of our MCAs as their partners in bad governance in counties, Mr. Speaker. This should be a warning to many county governors that when you have MCAs who play their rightful role of oversight, Mr. Speaker, that it is very important. So I allow, Mr. Speaker. Number 2, Mr. Speaker, there are reasons as to why standing order number 80 and section 33 is very clear. So Speaker, when we prosecute either by committee or by plenary, Mr. Speaker, I want to invite most of the colleagues who have never had the privilege and rare opportunity of prosecuting the plenary, Mr. Speaker.
There is a point of order, Senator Eddy.
Freeze my time.
Mr. Speaker, I rise with the point of order for limiting debates. Mr. Speaker, the Senator for Nandi has just prosecuted on this matter conclusively. Stood in front of this House and gave a judgment on the work of MCAs and on the personality of the governor for Meru, which in his own wisdom, what you read as charges that were forwarded before us, the governor stands guilty. Mr. Speaker, the debate that we are having here is whether we are going to prosecute these matters on principle in committee or in the plenary. Is Senator Chiragei in order, Mr. Speaker, to make a judgment on substantive issues that we are yet to discuss as a House, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, in your ruling, Mr. Speaker, I find this one grossly disorderly, Mr. Speaker. Given that you have given Senator Chiragei a lot of warnings, Mr. Speaker, and I think that he's doing this deliberately, Mr. Speaker, perhaps to actually disregard the orders that you're giving, Mr. Speaker. I think you should find him in order, Mr. Speaker, if it pleases you so, and throw him out of this House, Mr. Speaker, because he's reducing this House to a mere theater of jokes, Mr. Speaker. I rest my case, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Chirange, I gave the guidance when I was giving the communication. What is before you is a motion to pass a resolution for special committee. Either you are for it or you're not for it. The substance of the impeachment cannot be the subject matter of any senator's contribution here. It's either you're opposing and you give the reasons why you think the plenary will be a better forum to handle this matter. Kindly avoid delving into the substance of the impeachment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm well guided, but in the words of Burning Spear, there is a saying that we are not all that stupid, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to borrow in the words of Lucky Dube, Mr. Speaker, the reggae, that justice, fairness, and social equality should be the cornerstone, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the reason I'm saying is we need to ensure that there are principles of natural justice. Mr. Speaker, plenary, Waititu case, Songo case, among other governors that we listened to, Mr. Speaker, through plenary, it gives opportunity to new members to learn. Because Senate should be the learning curve to expose them, Mr. Speaker. The committee way is limited because at the resolution of the committee, I had a misconception and misleading the House at some point by some members that saying Senate will have the second bite on the cherry. It does not have, Mr. Speaker, because when the committee sits and agree that governor is not guilty or not guilty, Mr. Speaker, then that matter ends there, Mr. Speaker. So we are ready to listen to the plenary way as we listen to the tunes of guitar, Mr. Speaker, so that we understand. Be very keen and be very to listen, Mr. Speaker. So I propose that we go to plenary way. I have been the champion of plenary way on the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker, so that we have opportunity, Mr. Speaker, so that Senator Crystal Asike, and I want to inform members, Mr. Speaker, for benefit, because I rarely give out my advice pro bono, Mr. Speaker, but today I do it for free. Mr. Speaker, you have opportunity to cross-examine, to analyze, to look at the documentation, Senator Okiya Omtata, so that when somebody moves to court, the way Senator Okiya Omtata moved, Mr. Speaker, they will not question that Senate did not consider, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I oppose, let us go to plenary way. And I thank my chair, Mr. Speaker, he is always brilliant. Senator Moses Otieno Kajwang is the man to watch.
Senator Mungatana.
Mr. Speaker,